Little pop quiz. What was the no label before they changed their names? I mean, this bunch that came up when they were the new group, No Labels. What was their label before they changed their name? Well, losers, yeah, but that was not their label. They had a label. Well, no. Progressive is it. The broadcast engineer, Mr. Mamone, gets it. Progressives. Exactly right. When liberalism was rejected, liberals called themselves progressives. And now that progressives are being rejected, former liberals, former progressives are now calling themselves the No Label Group. How many more changes are there going to be? Ben Smith, Politico, notes that the No Label Group has stolen its icon design from a graphic artist named Thomas Porostaki. A very unhappy graphic artist for good reason. Mayor Bloomberg is big in this group, and he has lots of money, which means he could easily have just paid for the designs that his group stole. And there's their icons, their logos are side by side. There's no question that they've been stolen, which is typical. From the Politico here, no labels short on Republicans. The group No Labels kicked off its first conference yesterday at New York's Columbia University with just one label largely absent: Republican. The nonpartisan initiative with the slogan "Not Left, Not Right, Forward" is, why would anybody want to emulate MSNBC and their slogan? I mean, theirs is leaning forward, seeking to fill what the American people regularly tell pollsters is the vital center, a non-ideological space where the commitment is to getting things done. And its speakers, who ranged from Republican moderates like ex-Virginia Representative Tom Davis to liberal Democrats like New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, sang the praises of cooperation and compromise. But the only Republicans present seemed to be those who had recently lost primary races, like South Carolina Representative Bob Inglis, Delaware Congressman Mike Castle, former Republicans like Charlie Crist, New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg. No other senior elected Republican officials were in attendance, though a range of Democrats were present, some of them seeming a bit mystified by the bipartisan cast of the event. What do you got Republicans here? What do you... They're mystified by the bipartisan cast, and yet they're setting themselves up as no labels, not left, not right, forward. The effort at nonpartisanship was, however, earnest. The stage was framed by two posters featuring a variety of half-red, half-blue animals: a giraffe, a snail, four penguins of bipartisanship staring back. These are the stolen icons and logos from a graphic artist. These are the stolen icons and logos. So, again, what you have here is simply a bunch of people, bunch of Democrats out of work who want to target big money politicians and get them to go in as a third-party candidate or as an independent. If you were a liberal, Democrat, or progressive, you wouldn't want to be labeled that either. And they're sucking in a bunch of Republicans on this. That makes it look like they are the future. They are the smartest in the room. They are the ones with all the magnanimity. These no-label people, we're the ones who really have the finger on the pulse of the American people. American people want compromise. They do. Nobody wants compromise. Nobody likes the compromise of this tax deal. Where's all the people? American people want compromise. We got compromise going on. Where's all the praise for it? There isn't. You can't take labels off of things. As I so astutely pointed out yesterday, labels are part of the English language. You can't take labels out of our conversations, political or otherwise. Last night on the PBS NewsHour, this Jim Lehrer, co-hosted here, Judy Woodruff, spoke to the No Labels movement co-founders, Kiki McLean, a Democrat campaign consultant looking for her next candidate, and Mark McKinnon, a Democrat campaign consultant whose only Republican client, had Bush and then McCain, but he quit McCain, and he threatened to quit McCain. He said, if you guys start attacking Obama, I'm out of here. And when the slightest bit of criticism of Obama was mounted by the McCain campaign, McKinnon split the scene. So these are the two no-labels people Judy Woodruff talking to. She said, Mark, what's the dream scenario here? What would you like to have happen?
We'd like to provide a vehicle and a channel for the millions of Americans who today don't feel like their voices are represented. They look at Washington, they see the hyper-partisanship, they see loud microphones on the left, loud microphones on the right, and nobody really rewarding good behavior in the middle. People are just, in fact, they're getting punished whenever they try and extend their arm across the aisle or work in a bipartisan fashion.
Loud microphones. I knew it. I knew it, folks. At the end of the day, this is about me. Loud microphones. You know what else this is about? These people, these Democrats, they don't know what to do. All these centrists, all the independents have moved to Republicans in droves. And the Republicans didn't have to do one thing but stay alive to get them. The independents have abandoned the Democrat Party. The independents have abandoned the left. And they've done so in a most profound way because they finally have seen liberalism wide open, up close and personal. They have seen it. They don't have to rely on people to tell them what it is. They've seen it. For 2 years, they've seen how it destroys. They've seen the destruction that liberalism is, and they want no part of it. Ergo, here come these people, and they don't care about the American people. You know, well, we'd like to provide a vehicle and a channel for the millions of Americans who today don't feel a lot of Americans do feel their voices are heard. A whole bunch of them were heard last November, Mark. That was a huge election, and the majority of Americans voted a certain way, and their voices are being heard. They don't have any question about that. They know that their voices might be ignored now and then, but they know their voices are heard. But let's get to the bottom of it. You guys don't care about the people. We'd like to provide a vehicle and a channel for the millions of Americans who today, that's not you. What you care about yourselves. You guys are the ones on the outs. You guys are the ones looking for clients. You guys are the ones looking for work. These people, you know, this no-labels crowd, they have been rejected. Everything they said the last 2 years about what wins elections has been proven to be wrong. They have been totally discredited. So now they seek a new home, trying to redefine themselves in the name of what the American people want. If these people knew what the American people want, they would have victorious clients on their resumes. But they do not have, other than McKinnon and Bush. Kiki McLean took her shot next. Judy Woodruff said, Kiki McLean. You also hear people saying, what's wrong with feeling strongly or feeling passionately about issues? There's a lot at stake here. Why shouldn't we be arguing these things, debating these things vigorously?
Passion and partisanship is okay. Hyper-partisanship is not. If the goal when you start a conversation is to make sure somebody else loses, we all lose. And there's too much of that going on today.
What? Can you blame me if I think this is about me? What? I mean, if the goal when you start a conversation is to make sure somebody else loses, yeah. I mean, Kiki, what happens in elections? Elections are campaigns. Campaigns are conversations. What happens in elections? Somebody loses. One of the honchos of this group, John Evlon, wrote a book with a label for a title, Wingnuts. And he mentioned me in this book a lot, hoping I would mention his book so that it would sell. But here's a no-labels head honcho with the title of his book. In fact, a label, Wingnuts. Now, Judy Woodruff, you know, even Judy is having trouble with this. She finally says this to both Kiki McLean and Mark McKinnon.
Mark McKinnon, I heard you say today that the rest of the country is not as polarized as Washington. And yet, I'll tell you quite candidly, I was around the country covering several Senate races this year. This is anecdotal, but I found people pretty partisan in their views.
The idea that Washington is more partisan than the rest of the people, the rest of the country not as polarized as Washington. Mark, who's been running Washington the past 2 years? Your guys, the liberal Democrats. Next, these panty waists are going to want to outlaw high school and college debate clubs because somebody loses. I mean, there's a conversation that started, and the purpose is for somebody to lose. These people are just either they're sad they can't compete, or they don't want to compete, or in truth, follow the money. They're looking for political candidates, rich political candidates to be clients. And Bloomberg, and a number of politicians who love this whole idea of being in the center. Bloomberg is one of them. But he's not a centrist. He's an uber leftist. Look at his policy ideas. Too much salt in the city, too much trans fat, can't smoke here, can't do that there. He's a full-born uber leftist. He's a Democrat. Called himself a Republican to get elected. Now, what is the difference, folks, in a partisan and a hyper-partisan? I mean, Kiki McLean here said passion and partisanship's okay, but hyper-partisanship is not. What's the difference? I mean, that's how cockamamie these people are. Here, last night's CNN Situation Room, Wolf Blitzer spoke with David Rodham Gergen about the No Labels movement. Blitzer says, is this a moderate version of the Tea Party movement? Now, would anybody say that how can you have a moderate version of the Tea Party movement? The Tea Party movement is very active. They are grassroots and they are conservative. And yet the question, is this a moderate version of the Tea Party movement? And get this answer.
It is, Wolf. This is a group that's it's new, it's nascent, it's small, but it's trying to give voice to the many disgusted Americans who just have watched our politics, see it as hyper-partisan, paralyzed, and they worry about the future of the country and would like to give a voice to the middle of people saying, look, it's fine to be conservative, it's fine to be liberal, but sometimes you guys have got to meet and agree upon things and get the country moving. We simply can't be paralyzed.
And what Gergen and all these people mean is Republicans have to compromise. Conservatives are the ones that always have to compromise. That's how you meet in the middle. So why are we calling these No Labels people by their names? Shouldn't they assign themselves numbers? I mean, a name is a label. Kiki Moore should be number 1. And Mark McKinnon should be number 2. And whoever this Avalon guy, make him number 3. I mean, names are labels. You know, what these people are is anti-conservative. They are anti the people. They don't like the outcome of the November elections. That's why they've formed. They're not interested in the middle. They are interested in anti-conservatism. They're interested in defeating conservatism. And this no labels nonsense just shows you how idiotic and how out of touch they are. The nation is at a crossroads. We do have to choose a direction. And they're talking about no labels, which has nothing to do with anything that matters. A better name for this group would be No Brains.